Hello, everyone. Yes, it's me again, Destiny, the Midnight Owl. And what an honor to have you here, tuned in, waiting for the next episode, and curious who is coming at Poetic Insights with Destiny. Again, today I have another host. This person, hey, if you're a poet in Kampala and you don't know this person, I don't know what you're doing. Really, I don't know what you're doing. He's an award-winning poet. He has his own poetry house or club. He has traveled the world to places that I admire. I call him Uncle Mane, the people's poet. He's many things. Join me together. Put those flowers there for Kagayi. You're most welcome. What an honor to have you here today.
I feel blessed, Destiny. Thank you for hosting me.
I can't believe I'm here with you, with Kagayi.
Hold yourself.
I hold myself. But it's amazing. You know, I know you for the things that you put online. Of course, starting Chitara Nations, being one of these amazing stage performers who can do a solo show for hours, and you're like, you did one recently in Germany, and I'm like, for how many hours is that guy going to be there? I mean, things that most of us who are new, okay, I may not be so new, but most of us, when we hear that name, you're like, okay, that name rings a bell, especially in Uganda and the city. So for those who don't know you, kindly introduce yourself more.
Okay, for those who do not know me.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Kagayi. I am a poet, a playwright, a performer, and a publisher. I am the founding director of a poetry company called Chitara Nation, and our work centers around creating spaces for young people to discover their talents in performance poetry. I have authored 4 poetry collections. I've written about 6 plays, and the Lord has been gracious with me that I've been able to perform on various stages around the world.
Yes, that is, we shall come to that part.
Thank you.
Some of us want to also, get the tickets.
To make the aeroplane a border.
You make the aeroplane a border.
That's what my mother says.
You should go and make the aeroplane a border. Every day you're here. I like that. You talked of the core reason why Chitara Nations was started to help young people, to train, to empower them in performance poetry. Looking at the fact that young people, I'm thinking of you. At what point in your life did you say, Chino, this is poetry and this is me, that this is my thing?
Okay, it was in 3rd year.
Campus? At campus?
I'm a late bloomer.
Okay, tell us more.
I was a late bloomer. A friend of mine invited me to a poetry show they were hosting at the National Theatre. I'd never heard of anything like a poetry recital. I didn't even know that there were Ugandans who were writing poems. I didn't know that there were people who loved poetry. I used to think I was the only person who loved poetry.
the only
other Ugandan writer I knew was my young brother. And so at the time, I was never a writer. I was only a reader.
Okay, but you had read poems, Shakespeare's, or Papitex books and all those.
Some guys like sports. Me, I liked reading poetry. I started from the time I was young. My fascination was collecting poems. So I would go to libraries, go to internet cafes, look for...
Did you steal some poetry books from libraries?
Yes, that of course. It goes without saying.
Oh, you are the people who go in the library.
I mean, the book has been there. It is full of dust. Nobody is reading Lord Alfred Tennyson. For you know Lord Alfred Tennyson, you want to read Ulysses.
You're helping the librarian make the books useful.
Clearly, the book is just there. Nobody is using it, so you put it to better use.
Oh, okay. So tell us, this campus thing.
Yeah. So this friend of mine invites me to this poetry show, and they had already invited me to join their poetry club, but I had refused. Because for me, poetry, when you think about poetry, you think of girls writing about flowers and butterflies.
And love and all these.
And me, I'm a man. Like, I don't have time to sit there to listen to your poems about roses, are red, smile violets are blue. But then this time I decided, you know what? She has pestered me for about 3 months. Let me go.
That was persistence.
And then, yeah, it was. Oh, Barbara Kajora, it was persistent.
Thank you, Barbara, for getting this guy to stage. Wherever you are, yes, you
May
did
your
us.
tribe increase.
Amen.
Yeah. And so I get there and I am shocked. First and foremost, there were male poets on stage more than female poets. Secondly, they had cool poetry. And by cool poetry, I mean poetry on philosophy, poetry on politics, poetry on culture, lifestyle. Of course, there was love as well. Poems on faith, poems on university life. And then, to my utter surprise, I even had friends who were friends at university who would discuss law together, go to read case law together. They were also performing poems.
And they did.
And we didn't know ourselves like that. We knew ourselves as law students.
Yes.
You know? And the auditorium was full. And they were reciting poems that made me cry there in the dark auditorium. I was like, this poem is so nice.
Remember, you said you're a man. Those things that affect you.
Yeah. I normally, when I tell this story, I normally say that when I walked into that auditorium at the National, and it was also my first time to step at the National Theatre.
Yes.
But when I got to the National Theatre, I wanted to be a lawyer. And when I left, I immediately knew I was meant to be a poet.
That was the turning point.
It was my turning point, and from there, I went to Grace and Barbara, and I told them, okay, you guys now, just tell me when you're meeting next time. And they told me when they were meeting. I started turning up. Then I started writing poetry. By the time I left university, I left with 2 degrees. One in law, one in poetry.
Imagine.
Yeah.
Well, that's amazing. I mean, what I'm picking is one thing that has stood out for me is the fact that those who keep inviting people for these things, keep inviting people for these events, never know. You are going to be because the seed could have been already planted as you're reading these poems.
But it needs a place to be watered.
A place to be watered for it to bloom finally.
Yes.
And that is what needed for you to discover that, okay, this is who I am.
Yeah.
And it came at campus. That's great. Now, that you yourself, you did that, coming to Chitara Nations. There are young people who I believe you're a believer. The Lord has placed in your hands to nurture. How has that journey been for you?
You know, let me tell you the truth. We started Kitara Nation to make money. In fact, the money was already there. Before Kitara Nation, when I was at university, when I was still at uni and I joined this group called the Lantern Meet of Poets, I asked myself a question. And a lot of us were asking ourselves the same question in the group. How come we are this talented? I mean, we were university kids, but newspapers were writing about us.
Imagine.
You know, we were cool, we were popular, we were filling auditoriums. You know, our shows were for free, and yet we're even giving people, eats and drinks.
Wow.
You know, people would turn up in big numbers.
You are giving people what?
Hey.
Eats and drinks, and yet they are coming for free.
We were so cool. We
bring
made
back those
poetry
days.
so
Bring
cool.
back those days.
I'm telling you. But then none of us was a student of literature. We were all studying other things.
Yeah.
And so the question that we asked ourselves was this: how come we were this? If we are this talented as society is telling us, the newspaper reviews are telling us, how come none of our teachers in high school ever identified this particular talent in us?
Exactly, yes.
Then secondly, how is it that our parents
also
never encouraged us, to take this path of creative writing? Why was it that every time they see you as a kid and you like reading, you are supposed to be a lawyer, you are supposed to be a doctor, you are supposed to be an engineer, etc. Why can't you be a writer? Why can't you be an actor? Why can't you be a performer?
Yeah.
Why can't you be a critic? And we realized that one of the challenges, one of the reasons why we were late bloomers, most of us, was because we had no support system at university. We realized that when we talked amongst ourselves, even when we were still at high school, we were the kids walking around with books. We were the people who were reading books. It didn't matter whether they were studying literature or not, And so we said, there are other students like that, and they're still in high school. I think it's better that we alert them that it is possible for you to be a doctor and a writer, for you to be an engineer and a poet. And so that's when we started the drive. And we started by going back to our former schools, and we did one-off projects, and they were really not satisfactory. So for me, when I was done with my degree at Makerere University, that time before you could go to LDC, there is a 6-month hiatus. And so I decided to take this teaching thing seriously. So I wrote applications to schools near where I live, which was in Banda, by the way, not far from here.
Very near.
And all the schools rejected me because I was not a professional teacher. But I had this passion burning in me. I was like, I need to just save some other kid out there, Luckily enough, my father knew at the time the head teacher of Nabisunsa Girls School. And my mother was like, but Peter, you seem to be serious about this thing. If you don't want to practice law, you want to teach like your father. My father is a primary school teacher. So she tells me, okay, I talked to your dad and he said he's going to introduce you to Hajat Aisha Lubega. And then Hajat Aisha Lubega is interested in meeting this young guy
who wants to teach,
who does not want to do law, but wants to teach. So she calls me at her office and she asks me, so why are you interested in becoming a teacher? And for all these schools that I was going to, that is the only thing that I was yearning for, somebody to ask me why. Everybody was just looking at me, and the point is, the problem with you lawyers is you think because you speak English, you can teach. And so she gets to ask me that question, and I tell her, look at what Nigerians are achieving. Look at what South Africa is achieving. Who is our next Okot Pabitek? Where is our next Henry Balo? Our students are only being taught literature to pass exams at A-level. Nobody is raising Uganda's next generation of writers. Who is going to tell our stories? Are we still waiting for white men to come and tell us who we are? Where is our identity, our culture? She looked at me like this.
Poetic delivery.
And after about 15 minutes of me just grumbling, she's like, you know what? I have hired you.
Just that.
What do you want to do? And then I told her, at the time my idea was to, teach senior six. And she's like, I give you my senior sixes. I'm like, yes, because those are the ones who are going into the university. Those are the people that we need to save right now. And she's like, you know what? Do what you want. Come back next week.
Wow.
The next week I went back to Nabisunsa. It was Nabisunsa Girls School. I go back to Nabisunsa. Now Nabisunsa was supposed to hire a new teacher of literature. They canceled that person's contract, and they hired Kagayi.
Yeah.
And I was introduced to the department. I was given support by the department. I taught senior six, then taught lower O-level. So it was during that time that I was working at Nabisunsa. Okay, at first I thought it was going to be for 6 months, but after 6 months, we did amazing work. It was excellent work. I discovered so much talent among young people, and it became a necessity. Because now I was telling them you can be a writer, but here I was also trying to become a lawyer.
Yes.
So it was a kind of hypocritical. So I decided, you know what, let me do this thing full time. I didn't know where it was going to lead me. I didn't have I think they were paying me like 300K, 400K. Yes. It wasn't much, but I could foot to school and come back.
Just nearby.
Me, I was happy.
Yeah.
I was happy with the work I was doing. So it was when I was doing that kind of work that, I wanted to do a poetry festival. I really wanted to introduce them to the high culture of poetry.
Yes.
And so I did for them a school's poetry festival. And then I invited some friends of mine from an organization called Baimba. I wanted them to give me equipment.
Yes.
The guys who do Baimba festival.
Festival.
Nebangamba tebalina sente. Now they just hire equipment. But they were like, you know what, Kagayi, we shall come and see what you're doing.
Yes.
Put up an amazing festival, invited schools, students performed. It was colorful. Invited parents, invited professional writers, invited what, media, big thing. Sold out. Amazing.
At their
Then,
school?
yeah, at the school.
Yes.
It was the first thing of its kind anywhere. Nobody had ever heard of it.
We are bringing it back
And
soon.
it was so cool. Then the next day, Faizo tells me, the guy of buying, was like, you know what, Kagayi, we've just got a grant, and that's grant from Belgium, and it's called from a company called Africalia, and we are looking for new talents to promote, and we liked what you did with poetry, so we are going to give you 50 million shillings per year for the next 5 years. But we can't give that money to you. So you start a company.
Okay, so that is the
So that's how I was like,
genesis of-
okay, you know what, let me start Kitara Nation.
Okay.
And then we started Kitara Nation, and for whatever I was doing in Nabisunsa, we started doing it
in the universities and other
in other
places.
schools around the country.
Wow.
And yeah, that's how we started, and
You
that's how
know,
it has been.
why I said mid as you are giving that we are bringing that back, I felt strongly on my heart. We need to take this back to schools, because I have interacted with schools, performed at school events where kids are doing poetry, and I'm like, we need more of this. We need more of this. I never know where God will lead us. Ladies and gentlemen, I want us to take a little break. And you have heard the genesis of Kitara Nation, how this young man started the organization, but his passion for young people, empowering them, mentoring them, and how it can work when there is money. When we come back, we are going to dig deeper into how he makes money right now that the other one is done, his experiences, and much more. Stay tuned to Poetic Insights with Destiny, the Midnight Owl.
So I'm going to perform for you a short poem. It's published in my collection called The Headline That Morning and Other Poems. This short poem took me 6 months to write. But when I was done, I was like, phew, it's done. So the poem is entitled A Family Portrait. I heard the boy playing daddy say, I'll beat you because I am daddy. The girl playing mommy was kneeling before the boy. Her head slightly bowed and coy. I heard the boy playing daddy say, also like my daddy, I'll divorce you. That's the poem. Thank you.
Yeah. Wow. So that is how sweet and brief the poem is.
Yeah. I don't know if it's sweet, but yeah, it's painful.
It's painful. It gives me, makes me think about our society structures, the role families, the role parents play in how children are shaped as adults, because children observe things, children see things, children learn things from elders. Looking at that poem, how have your parents maybe inspired you or shaped the life that you have right now?
Well, first and foremost, both my parents are passionate readers. So we grew up around books. I think when my mother was moving into the marriage, one of the things she carried from her home were
collection
her precious
of books.
novels.
Oh.
Yeah, and I remember when we were children, she would always read to us. She would always excite us about books we were going to read when we grow up. She always talked about the novel, The Beautiful Ones Are Not Yet Born. You know, because it's one of the, I think, books she did when she was in O-level. My father read to us Animal Farm when we were preteens. He used to buy newspapers for us to read. They created a reading environment. We were kids who spoiled so many things, but we never spoiled books. Yeah. So I give credit to them, and I also I first read poetry when I was at home. Our father used to buy us books that had, and also videotapes. So we would read a book, and then we would also watch the book.
Movie. So
Yeah, I watched
you
the
are the
movie of
people
the book.
who read Gifted Hands and watched it.
Aha. Ochitegeera. Nga we have Cartoon Network, we have Jetsons, we have comic books, but we
Yes.
also watch them on
Yes.
video. So it was that kind of thing. And so for us, performance and dramatization came that easy.
Yeah.
And then when I started writing, my parents did not support my career as a writer. I mean, for them, they
Sent you
dreamt
to
their son was supposed to
lawyer. Now he's here doing these other things.
Now he's writing poems, and he's writing political poems. He might even get arrested.
I tell you, parents can get
and
scared.
then he's just there on stage shouting. And how is he going to make money? And I stayed home after campus. I stayed home for about 5 years without a job, just writing poems.
Yeah.
And it was hard. So I can say that my parents were both my blessing and also a test.
Yes.
They were a test of my resilience. So I write a lot of poetry about how I stood firm in the face of adversity.
Yes.
My first poetry book, I dedicated it to my parents. By the time we were launching it, for them, they did not understand this thing of what is this guy doing at the National Theatre. So at the book launch, which was covered by journalists in South Africa, Kenya, Nigeria,
And they still
Uganda,
were not understanding
East
this?
Africa. So they come to the book launch at the National Theatre when the thing had already started. So they walk in midway, and even though they were supposed to sit, other people had sat there.
The place was full.
The place was so full,
God.
but that time we had our relationship was really strained.
Oh, yeah.
But after that book launch, they tried so hard to mend.
Yes.
But I was also going into a darker place. That by that time I didn't even know God. I'd started using drugs. I'd started smoking a lot. I started hanging around with people that I thought were family, but
Cool.
we were doing our
Your
bad
gango,
manners. Nga tuliye yonge nse tunyiga. Yeah, but eventually they started. I remember this time I was still at home, and my mother was reciting my poem "How I Grew Up." My father started inviting me to PTA meetings to perform poems. So eventually, as time went on, the wound started healing. I felt embraced. They started celebrating me as a poet and not the son who was supposed to be a lawyer.
A lawyer. Yeah, but that is good because it is key. I think it's also a struggle for parents. They have groomed their child to be something, and their child is taking a different path, and their interest is seeing how secure is this path that their child is taking. In the event they are not there, can this thing sustain them? Can this thing earn them the money that they need? I think those are some of the core worries, because they have seen in these other structured career paths, there is a sense of security. There's a sense of you have your salary per month. At least you have shelter. But this one, where you're not even certain how long it will last, that is their concern. But regardless, when they figure that this thing can get you sustainability, they come over, some of them. And one of the key things, I want to dig into that dark phase of your life where you are not met Christ and you are using drugs and all those things. I believe somebody else can learn from it, because I know one of the key things that our creatives and even other younger people are struggling with is drug abuse, mental health challenges that come out of it. For some people, they don't know how to manage it. They don't know how to maneuver this. But I believe they can still thrive without getting addicted to substance.
For sure.
Could you just speak to that and encourage somebody?
Destiny.
Yes.
When someone is struggling with substance abuse, it is merely a symptom of the trauma that they carry from their childhood. So in society, when we are looking at helping these people, when we look at their substance abuse as the problem, then we become part of the problem. They will never feel understood.
Okay.
So in most cases, so even when I gave my life to Christ, and I still hang out with some of my friends we still can meet them, and I'm like, guys, pass it the other side. But you need to get to know Christ. You need to get to know God, because this is what the Lord has done for me. I don't judge them. You know, everybody is looking for acceptance. Everybody has a void, a loneliness that they're dealing with in a certain way. And so I think, of course, giving them support, hanging around them, showing them that there is a different way they can deal with their loneliness, for me is the best way that we can help each other and help them as well become better.
Yeah, I just like the fact that you're saying, look at the thing behind what is triggering them to do this. And I also want to challenge the poets, the creatives, whichever capacity you're in, ask for help where possible. It may not be to your friends or through the family or people you feel who will judge you, but there are also institutions, places that can help you be better. But above all else, give your life to Christ.
Exactly. The best institution for them is God.
The best institution for them is God.
Is God, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been quite amazing having Kagayi on this amazing episode. And we have not exhausted the questions. We are going to have him in part 2 of this segment to talk more about some of the things related to poetry and life in general. So catch you next time once again. This is Poetic Insights with Destiny, the Midnight Owl.